The year is 1914. Europe stands on the precipice of a new era, yet it is an era fraught with tension and uncertainty. Europe is a powder keg of tension, a network of alliances binding nations together in a dangerous game of power. The Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance are like two massive tectonic plates, ready to collide with devastating force. The spark that ignites this powder keg comes on a sunny June day in Sarajevo, Bosnia. The city, a melting pot of cultures and political tensions, is about to become the epicenter of a global catastrophe.
I am visiting the city with my wife Sophie, touring Sarajevo in an open car, unaware of the danger lurking in the crowds. We are here to inspect the Imperial Armed Forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina, a routine visit that will soon turn tragic.
A group of Serbian nationalists, members of the Black Hand, see their chance. This secret society is committed to the idea of a greater Serbia, free from Austro-Hungarian rule. They are determined to strike a blow against Austro-Hungarian rule in the Balkans. Their plan is audacious, their resolve unshakable. As the Archduke's car passes, one of the assassins, Gavrilo Princip, fires his pistol. The moment is chaotic, filled with the noise of the crowd and the sudden sharp crack of gunfire.
The shots find their mark, mortally wounding both Franz Ferdinand and Sophie. In an instant, the world changes forever. The Archduke's last words to his beloved wife are, "Sophie, Sophie, don't die, stay alive for our children."
The assassination sends shockwaves through Europe. It is not just the death of a royal couple, it is the death knell for the old world order. It is an act of terrorism that will have unimaginable consequences. The delicate balance of power in Europe is shattered, and the continent teeters on the brink of war. The Austro-Hungarian Empire is outraged. The assassination is seen as a direct attack on their sovereignty and honor. They blame Serbia for the assassination, believing with some justification that the Serbian government had supported the Black Hand. Diplomatic notes are exchanged, but the tone is increasingly hostile. Austria-Hungary sees an opportunity to crush Serbian nationalism and assert its dominance in the Balkans. They issue an ultimatum to Serbia, a list of demands so severe that compliance seems impossible. The world watches and waits, holding its breath as the gears of war begin to turn. Newspapers across Europe carry the grim headlines, and people everywhere sense that a storm is coming. The assassination in Sarajevo is the spark that will ignite the First World War, a conflict that will reshape the world in ways no one can yet imagine. Austria-Hungary, fueled by anger and a desire for revenge, issues Serbia an ultimatum. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand has left the empire seething, and they see this as the perfect opportunity to assert their dominance and quell any rising nationalist sentiments within their borders. The demands are deliberately humiliating, designed to be rejected. Austria-Hungary's ultimatum includes clauses that would essentially strip Serbia of its sovereignty, demanding that Austrian officials be allowed to participate in the investigation and prosecution of those involved in the assassination. Serbia, under pressure from Russia, attempts to negotiate but ultimately cannot accept the ultimatum in full. The Serbian government, aware of the dire consequences of outright rejection, agrees to most of the demands, but leaves some points open for further discussion, hoping to buy time and seek support from their Russian allies. On July 28, 1914, 1 month to the day after the assassination, Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. The declaration sends shockwaves through Europe as the fragile peace that had been maintained through a complex web of alliances begins to crumble. The intricate web of alliances, so carefully constructed over decades, begins to unravel. Nations that had pledged mutual defense and support are now being called upon to honor their commitments, setting the stage for a larger conflict. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, mobilizes its army. The Russian Empire, seeing itself as the protector of Slavic nations, cannot stand idly by as Serbia faces the might of Austria-Hungary. The mobilization is a massive undertaking involving millions of soldiers and vast resources. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, views Russian mobilization as a threat and declares war on Russia on August 1st. The German Empire, with its well-trained and highly disciplined military, is prepared for a swift and decisive campaign, hoping to avoid a prolonged conflict. 2 days later, Germany declares war on France, Russia's ally. The German strategy, known as the Schlieffen Plan, involves a rapid advance through Belgium to quickly defeat France before turning east to face Russia. The dominoes are falling, each declaration of war pulling another nation into the conflict. The carefully balanced power structure of Europe is collapsing, and the continent is on the brink of a war unlike any it has seen before. Great Britain, initially hesitant to get involved, is drawn into the war when Germany invades neutral Belgium on its way to attack France. The violation of Belgian neutrality is a direct affront to the treaties that Britain has sworn to uphold. The British are bound by treaty to protect Belgium's neutrality. The invasion of Belgium galvanizes public opinion in Britain, and the government, despite initial reluctance, sees no choice but to enter the fray. On August 4th, 1914, Great Britain declares war on Germany. The declaration marks the entry of another major power into the conflict, further escalating the situation and ensuring that the war will be fought on a global scale. The great powers of Europe are now locked in a deadly embrace, a conflict that will engulf the continent and beyond. The war, which many believed would be over by Christmas, will drag on for years, leaving a legacy of destruction and loss that will shape the world for generations to come. The initial stages of the war are marked by a sense of naive optimism. Young men filled with dreams of heroism and adventure march off to battle with a sense of duty and excitement. They believe they are embarking on a grand adventure, one that will be over in a matter of months. Many believe it will be a short war over by Christmas. The streets are filled with parades and celebrations as families bid farewell to their loved ones, confident in their swift return. Young men rush to enlist, eager to prove their courage and patriotism. Recruitment offices are overwhelmed with volunteers, each one eager to do their part for their country. The sense of camaraderie and national pride is palpable. They march off to war with songs and smiles, unaware of the horrors that await them. The reality of war, with its brutal and unrelenting violence, is far from their minds as they wave goodbye to their families and friends. The Schlieffen Plan, Germany's grand strategy for a two-front war, calls for a swift knockout blow against France before turning their full attention to Russia. This plan, meticulously crafted, aims to avoid a prolonged conflict by quickly defeating one of their main adversaries. German troops, violating Belgian neutrality, sweep through Belgium and into northern France. Their advance is rapid and relentless, catching many by surprise and causing widespread panic. They are met with fierce resistance from the French and British armies. The initial clashes are brutal, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The determination and resilience of the Allied forces prevent a quick German victory. The war quickly bogs down into a bloody stalemate along the Western Front, a line of trenches stretching from the English Channel to the Swiss border. These trenches become the defining feature of the conflict, a symbol of the grinding, attritional warfare that will come to characterize the Great War. The dream of a quick victory fades away, replaced by the grim reality of trench warfare. Soldiers endure unimaginable hardships, living in squalid conditions, constantly under threat from enemy fire and disease. Millions of men are locked in a deadly struggle, caught between barbed wire, machine guns and artillery barrages. The landscape is transformed into a hellish no-man's land where survival is a daily battle. The Western Front becomes a vast graveyard, consuming lives at an appalling rate. The scale of the carnage is unprecedented, with entire generations of young men lost to senseless slaughter. The war, once thought to be a brief and glorious adventure, drags on with no end in sight, leaving a continent scarred and a world forever changed. Life in the trenches is a horrific experience, a test of human endurance. Soldiers on both sides face the same grim conditions: mud, rats, lice, disease, and the constant threat of death.
The trenches are a labyrinth of ditches, dugouts, and communication trenches, often flooded and infested with vermin. The stench of death hangs heavy in the air.
Days are spent repairing trenches, standing watch, and trying to survive the constant shelling. Nights offer little respite, as patrols probe enemy lines and snipers prey on any movement. The psychological strain of constant danger and the horrors witnessed take a heavy toll on the soldiers.
The battles on the Western Front are brutal and costly affairs. Attacking troops face a terrifying ordeal, advancing across open ground raked by machine gun fire and pounded by artillery. Casualty rates are staggering.
The battles of Verdun and the Somme become symbols of the war's futility and brutality, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives for minimal gains. While the Western Front captures the world's attention, the Eastern Front is equally brutal, marked by its own horrors and atrocities. Russia, with its vast manpower reserves, initially poses a formidable threat to Germany and Austria-Hungary. However, the Russian army is poorly equipped and led and suffers heavy losses.
The Ottoman Empire, hoping to regain lost territory, joins the war on the side of the Central Powers. Their entry into the war has far-reaching consequences, closing off the Dardanelles Strait and threatening Russia's supply lines.
The Gallipoli campaign, an attempt by the Allies to capture the Dardanelles, ends in disastrous failure. Italy, initially allied with Germany and Austria-Hungary, switches sides in 1915, enticed by the promise of territorial gains. The Italian front, fought in the mountainous terrain of the Alps, becomes another bloody stalemate.
The war spills beyond the confines of Europe, becoming a truly global conflict. Battles are fought in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Colonial troops are drawn into the fighting, adding to the war's already staggering death toll.